Hello everybody, I'm Mike O'Sullivan, CEO of One South Coast Chamber, and I'm here today with Rick Kidder, the Chief Operating Officer of One South Coast Chamber, and we are here to talk about the One South Coast Business Connections. Good afternoon, Rick. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm great. Things are going well. We've had a very, very busy spring.
We have had an incredibly busy spring, and it looks like we're going to have a busy fall, but things kind of slide off a little bit in the summer as people go out and enjoy themselves and take vacations.
Yeah, you can say that again, and you can start to see, you can tell the end of the school year is within sight.
Yes, you can.
Somewhere, some of the Catholic schools are done next week, or in the next week and a half. But for us, it always starts with our legislative luncheon, which our legislative luncheon is June 9th. It's at Rachel's of Lakeside in Dartmouth at 11:30.
And what can people expect if they're going to attend a legislative luncheon with the Chamber?
It's a great event because we have some of the best legislators in the state, both on the Senate side and on the House of Representatives side. And it's an opportunity for where we invite everybody on the South Coast to come and sit. And we have a great panel. It's a great lunch for the community, and we have anywhere from 7 to 9, depending upon their schedules, of legislators that come and will speak. We generally start with asking 3 or 4 questions that are predetermined questions, but not too difficult. And then we take questions from the floor. We put note cards out on the table, and people can handwrite their questions, and we will ask the legislators. And sometimes you have 3 legislators, 4 legislators want to answer the question, or if it's a budget-driven question, it might be Senator Rodericks. If it's transportation, it might be Bill Strauss. Or it could be something Carol Fiola wants to answer, but it could be any of the legislators. But it really turns out to be a great conversation between the chamber, the community, and the legislators. So we're really excited about that.
Well, and one of the reasons that we do this is that the business community often doesn't necessarily feel heard at the state legislature. And we maintain wonderful relationships with our state legislators. Why? Because they deserve that. They've worked hard to get those seats. And while we don't always agree 100% with what goes on Beacon Hill, that doesn't mean that we don't want to politely engage with our legislators and make sure that they understand what the needs of business, particularly small businesses, are.
Yeah, and small businesses, over 85% of our membership is small businesses. The small business is really being defined with 10 or less employees. So those folks, they're too busy running their businesses. They don't have the opportunity or time to really go and talk to their legislators. So this is a great opportunity for them to hear, and it's a great opportunity for us to represent those folks with our legislators.
And what many people don't realize is that we often reach out to the members of the legislature on issues of importance to the business community. We know, as you were saying, small businesses, those folks are doing everything in their business. They are the CEO, they are the head janitor. They are hiring, they're trying to deal with payroll, they're trying to deal with all of the issues that they have in order to run their small business. They don't have time to be on Beacon Hill. They don't have time to weigh in, and sadly, one small business doesn't necessarily get the ear of the legislature. So that's where, to some degree, our scale comes in. With more than 1,250 members, we have the opportunity, representing the membership, to contact the state legislators, knowing that we're going to be listened to. That doesn't mean we always get our way, but what it does mean is that we can reach out and we can have those conversations that our membership believes are important.
Very true. And while you're talking about scale, would you mind telling us a little bit about the Mass Chamber Policy Network?
Sure. We were fortunate to be one of 10 chambers that were put together initially by the Boston Chamber to participate in something called the Chamber Policy Network. Chamber Policy Network is made up of chambers from throughout the Commonwealth, the 10 largest chambers essentially throughout the Commonwealth, but representing a tremendous geographical diversity as well. And our role is to work together on Beacon Hill, utilizing some of the resources of the Boston Chamber, where they have lobbyists on staff, to help us advance the business community's agenda that is statewide. We find ourselves often kind of, we're over here, and those voices are not necessarily connecting with the legislature. And so groups like AIM that are statewide, groups like the Retailers Association of Massachusetts that are statewide, now have a new partner. And that new partner is the Chamber's Policy Network. And we represent every corner of the Commonwealth, and we get to speak with one voice on issues where we all agree.
Yeah, that's an exciting opportunity for our membership, and we're very, very pleased to be part of that. So it's almost June, or it's the Friday of Memorial Day. Summer unofficially starts this weekend.
Summer's unofficially started. Let's get real about this.
So tell us a little bit about the summer tourism season.
Well, as you know, Mike, and I don't know if any of the audience will know, One SouthCoast Chamber also is the coordinating entity for something called the Southeast Mass Visitors Bureau. The Southeastern Massachusetts Visitors Bureau is actually a consortium of 4 chambers: One SouthCoast Chamber, the Taunton Chamber, United Chamber in Attleboro, and the Tri-Town Chamber in Mansfield. And we represent Bristol County for the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism, with some funding that we can use to help attract visitors to this area. Now, we partner with people like Patty Rigo at Viva Fall River, who has some tourism dollars that have come in to help promote Fall River. And we work with Destination New Bedford and the dollars that they have. So we're leveraging dollars often to try to get individuals to, as the campaign in Fall River was last year, take 5 off 195, to spend some time utilizing some of the tourism assets of our area. Fall River only has one hotel, but there are hotels in Westport, and there are some wonderful hotels in New Bedford, and there are hotels in Taunton. We want people to experience this place in new and different ways. We have some astounding tourism assets here. Just sticking with Fall River for the moment, you have the variety of Battleship Cove and the Lizzie Borden House. You have the remarkable statuary and the replicas that are in Centennial Park. You have some of the best local cuisine around in wonderful, usually family-owned restaurants that are providing some cultural tourism as well, because many of those are some of the great Portuguese restaurants and Portuguese recipes brought to life. And many people, if they're not from this area, may never have experienced that before. But our responsibility is to market all of Bristol County. And in that process, we take a lot of things that people will never see because they live here. But we have billboards in Pennsylvania. We have billboards in New Jersey. We have billboards in Western Massachusetts and in New York and Connecticut, all kind of trying to lure people here. We take out ads in Yankee Magazine. We're working with Expedia, which is the largest of the travel sites. And we have an Expedia contract that will last until mid-November. That will allow our people who come on Expedia, they don't know quite what they're looking for, they're going to end up seeing things at Southeast Mass. And we can market ourselves differently from the way other places in the Commonwealth do. If you look at the Cape and you wanted to spend a week at the Cape, for most of us, that pretty much means cash in your life savings so that you can go to the Cape. The same is true in Nantucket. The same is true on the Vineyard. But we have access to all of those places. Or even if somebody, God forbid, wanted to spend their tourism dollars in Rhode Island at Block Island, they would be able to take a ferry from Fall River to do so. And they can take a ferry from New Bedford to Nantucket and to Martha's Vineyard. They can fly to either of those places from the New Bedford Regional Airport. And what that allows us is this wonderful luxury of being a less expensive alternative where people still have access to all of those great places, maybe go over for a wonderful day trip, and then come back and spend their tourism dollar here where it goes a lot farther.
So it's safe to say there's a lot happening.
There's a tremendous amount happening, and that whole tourism issue here is one that has been, our tourism has been growing for years and years, and the pandemic kind of made that stumble for everybody. But in a good year just before the pandemic, we had built our tourism direct spend, which is money directly spent on tourism, to over almost $700 million coming in of other people's money, coming in from more than 50 miles away into this region to help support our economy. And what people don't realize is that tourism has changed quite a bit. A lot of people drive. A lot of people fly with their pets. They may not stay at a hotel, they may stay at an Airbnb. And when they do, they go to Petco, or they go to a small pet shop like Melissa's, or they go to the local tire store because occasionally they'll hit a pothole and need a new tire. They'll go to the local markets and pick up things that they're going to use while they're here. So that doesn't even count in that direct spend. That's indirect dollars that are flowing into our economy from outside, which is not just you and me passing dollars back and forth. It's the injection of new money. And we love that in this region.
We certainly do. Anything to help our small businesses do well, and they certainly pick up during the summertime.
Oh, they absolutely do. And you know, it's funny, thanks to the good work that's gone on through the Chamber Foundation, Fall River itself is transforming itself into a place that people are dying to visit. And that work is being done by two entities that exist under our foundation, Fall River Arts and Culture Coalition and Viva Fall River. So you might want to explain a little bit about that. Many of these people may have seen Patty or Ashley on our show and their shows separately, but it's really good to know that there's much to celebrate.
There is a lot to celebrate right now in Fall River. Things are going very well. Things are picking up. The city's on a roll. Viva Fall River came out of a mass development initiative called TDI, which stands for Transformative Development Initiative. And Viva Fall River kind of grew up as a small business initiative in a small section of the city along South Main Street. And it's kind of grown to just this outstanding organization that is promoting small business. It's promoting the city itself. They've taken over handling the tourism for the city, and they're working with organizations like Southeastern Mass Visitors Bureau. They're doing great promotional work with a lot of things planned for the summer. They're also directly involved with events with the Narrows. And they're going to be working with on things with the city pier, which this summer is going to be very exciting. We opened the Thomas Norton City Pier back in the fall, and so we've got some events coming up in June, July, which will be very, very exciting. So Viva Fall River has really taken off, and it's doing a fantastic job.
With Viva Fall River, a lot of what they've done that people can see very easily is they've done a series of street markets. They've actually arranged for the murals that are all over the city now, and that look so
actually
beautiful.
That was FRAC.
Actually, that was
FRAC, which we can
but
jump on.
But they work together.
The two organizations work very, very well together. And but Viva, if you're driving west through the city, if you're coming from Westport and you're driving west through the city, if you look to the left, you have to be able to see the Viva Fall River mural on one of Tony Cordero
and it looks beautiful.
Tony's buildings. It looks fantastic, and that came from Fabric from last year, and it looks great, and it really just I think it gives people a good feeling. And then as we talk about FRAC, which stands for Fall River Arts and Culture Coalition, another great organization that the Chamber was directly and is directly involved in, but they're doing fantastic work. And I want to say 18 months ago or so, Ashley Okino came on board as the executive director, and she's just doing fantastic work with the organization.
To say she hit the ground running is an understatement.
Is an understatement. Yeah, if you look at the old Herald News building, which is now Potter's Printing, and you look at all of the murals on that. Ashley helped get that all rolling and get it all done. She's working on another mural project that, if it all falls into place, might even be a mural on the Chamber building.
Fantastic.
You and I have talked about many times. But there's also a mural on one of the schools. So it's fantastic, the work that's getting done. FRAC just completed what's called I think it was SouthCoast Coalition for the Arts. And it was an organization. It was an actual after-school program that the Fall River Public Schools, with Jackie Francisco and Ashley with FRAC and Patrick Norton with the Narrows, put together an after-school program at the Narrows. The place at the Narrows is all art-based. It was middle school kids, and you had to apply. You had to be chosen for the program. And the kids just graduated from the program last week. Unfortunately, I was out of town. I couldn't be there. I was really excited to go see it, but it was a wonderful program. The kids did really, really well, and it was all art based. Ashley's also working on some programs that where she's secured grants in some cases through ARPA, in some cases through the Mass Culture Council. But people don't realize that artists can be just like a small business. And they struggle.
Particularly artists themselves.
Yes.
They have that challenge of not understanding they're a small business.
Right, and they don't want to. It's not their strength to realize I need to have a business banking account. I need how I need to set up my books. How I need to. I need to pay sales tax if I sell my art. If I do, all those kinds of things. There's just topics and. Ashley's put together is a program that is going to help those folks, and many of them got $2,500 grants, so that they can actually learn and really get the business side of their business started, so that they can actually do it productively and not constantly. Hopefully, the idea is to get them to really build a good infrastructure for a business so that they can take what they love and turn it into a business. So Ashley's got a lot of great things going on with FRAC.
Well, and I think, as you and I have discussed before on this show, arts and culture is actually one of the measuring sticks that one uses in economic development. People don't always see that direct connection. But arts and culture really speak to the livability of a community. They speak to a community's sense of pride in itself. Mm-hmm. And what we've seen is, since the birth of Viva Fall River and Fall River Arts and Culture, we've seen a renewed sense of pride.
Definitely.
In the community. We experienced that in New Bedford when we created New Bedford Creative Arts. And much of the same kinds of things are being replicated, where you can see and you talk to people and their own view of the place they live is suddenly elevated. And it's elevated as the result of that incredible work. So it's very important for economic development, which is why the Chamber wants to be so strongly involved in arts and culture, because without it, we don't compete as well.
That's true. And much like the Chamber came together, there are some organizations that are collaborating from Fall River and New Bedford, including the New Bedford food tours, mm-hmm. and Viva Fall River. They're working together, and just last week, they did the food tours in Fall River. New Bedford Food Tours led the tours, working with Viva Fall River in partnership. They work together, and they've set up a program that, like, every month till September at least, there's going to be food tours, because one of as through the tourism process and building the program, putting it together, and talking to many people, looking at surveys that UMass Dartmouth has done for us, it's amazing how food in Fall River is such an amazing just with great restaurants.
Well, you know,
Simplify it and
if
say
if
we-
you and I stood up, they could get a pretty good view of how successful the food world is here.
That's true. That's very true. But the food world across the South Coast is fantastic.
It is.
But in Fall River, it's particularly good, and the two communities are working together very well. And you know, they're doing they're doing the Portuguese food tours. In fact, UMass Dartmouth is doing their own tour today because they're going to be doing some more surveying and getting more information, and so they're taking the tour so that they can do a better job as they're doing the research. So there's a lot of really great things that are happening. The city really is on a roll, and it's very, very exciting.
And you can feel it. You talk to people, you can feel it. It feels different, and I attribute much of that to the good work of Patty and Ashley and what they're doing that helps build community value and pride.
I was at a state economic development meeting yesterday, and another one of our colleagues from the chamber industry was singing the praises of some of the restaurants on the water, like Pier 52
Yep.
and the Tipsy Seagull,
Yes.
to other statewide executives. And I said, okay, so you can tell the world how great Fall River is. It works for me.
That's perfect.
And how Fall River's on a roll. So it really is, and it's doing very well, very, very well. So Rick, we have been at the chamber. We've been working for quite a while now on a strategic plan. Could you talk a little bit about that and some of the information and things that have come up and where we're headed with that?
You know, the strategic plan is something that every organization needs to go through. It's a process that has to be done. Within that is something called a SWOT analysis, where you look at your strengths, you look at your weaknesses, you look at your opportunities, and you look at your threats. And we had the staff come together under some expert guidance from a woman named Sue McQuaid, who we brought in solely for this purpose, to help work our way through a whole bunch of things that we weren't able to do when we first came together. When we came together, it was January 2020. 3 months later, everybody's doors were closed, and we were living in a world of pandemic. And we were fortunate, like many, to have survived that pandemic and are still thriving. But at the same time, we didn't have the luxury of bringing our team and our leadership together solely for the purpose of looking forward. We spent a couple of years looking at today, tomorrow, what's going to be like next week. And so we didn't have that chance. Now we finally have had that opportunity, and the staff has worked hard to develop some really core goals going forward, because we as an organization exist to serve the business community, but we exist in a broader sense to support the communities that we represent. And we know that there are certain things that we've done better than others. And we also know that there are certain areas where we want to move forward. But we decided one of the things that we would do is to divide our programs and services into 4 main pillars. Those 4 pillars are connect, learn, grow, and advocate. Now, when you look at those 4, they spill over into each other quite a bit. But Connect is really about helping businesses and business people connect with each other, helping them build a significant book of business. You and I put ours aside, but we all have these things. They're wonderful. I have, I guess, on my LinkedIn account, some 3,000 connections on my LinkedIn account or on my Facebook account, but I don't do business with all of those people. I do business with people I know. I do business with people I trust. So a lot of our connecting is, quote, old-fashioned in that sense, where people get to know each other as people, they get to refer each other out for business, and they build their networks in that way. If you've ever run a small business, it's a 24-hour-a-day job. And it is very, very difficult to get yourself out and about, but you need to do it because you're not in this thing alone, and that connection helps.
That's very true.
We also have a learning component. So the second pillar, is really about having workshops and seminars that help small business go through the process of learning new skills or honing the skills that they have, whether it's in social media and marketing and sales, or perhaps on things, serious issues like marijuana in the workplace. Grow is really about helping the business community itself grow. It is about what we do to help this entire business community in this region survive and thrive. And we want it to thrive. I think many people here thought that we were detached from the Massachusetts miracle for a long time. Now we feel very much a part of it because we have new industry coming here, like offshore wind and the train coming. And then Advocate. The organization has a role, as we discussed earlier, in representing the business community before the halls of government, not only on a federal level, on a state level, but at the local level as well. So part of our goal in our advocacy work is going to be to get to know our towns better. We know our cities pretty well, but we need to get to know the towns we serve better so that we can make sure that their needs are met. So in general, we're in the business, Mike, of building stronger communities. So how in other ways do you think the Chamber has a role in helping to build strong communities?
Well, I think, there's a lot of organizations that only focus on building their membership only. And our Chamber has focused really a lot of it through our foundation, but we focus on not just building membership, but creating impact for the members and creating impact for the communities, which is very important for us. And we've seen that, and that impact has led us to creating the FRAC, getting involved with mass development and creating TDI originally, and what has grown to be Viva Fall River. It has put us in the position on the business side of the world of being very, very active in the education space. You don't see that many chambers nearly as active as one SouthCoast chamber.
And why? What's the connection there? Why do we do that?
Well, the connection really comes to, we have to produce students who, when they graduate, are ready to work, and that could be next year, or it could be in the early childhood space when they're just getting started now, because in the ages from 0 to 5, if that's when kids really learn what they need to learn.
Exactly.
And or they learn most of what they need to learn. So you take that, and if you make sure the kids are more ready for kindergarten and first grade and second grade, they're going to excel. They're going to do much better in school, and which is exciting. But it's important because it really becomes the key economic driver or the key foundation in the education world. And we have conversations every day, about the vocational schools, about the public schools, about the Catholic schools that are in our region, the charter schools. We've got a wide variety of educational opportunities, but we have to make sure that the kids are able to that they're able to thrive.
Yes, and we have a diverse population that some of them are. I think it's time for us to wrap up. Some of them have needs that have to be met, language needs, things of that kind. We know that kids who start behind tend to stay behind.
Yes.
So on that note, we want to thank you very much for tuning in to One South Coast Business Connection. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. Mike and I will be back soon.